All right. Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Deconversion Stories. Sort of. Not really.
Ish.
Maybe a little bit.
Sort of. Ish. Yeah.
Version-ish.
Sorry.
Our guest today is Mark Reid. He lives in Australia, from the land down under, so to speak, kind of thing.
Indeed.
It's not a real country, though, right?
Yeah, I get paid by NASA just to pretend that
Right.
Australia is a place, right? Yeah, I've actually gotten that before. it's sort of a Poe's law. If you're not familiar with that one, that's sort of like there's nothing you can parody that doesn't actually resemble people's actual beliefs. So, yeah, it sounds like Poe's law, but no, I have got that before. Australia is a fictional place, but yeah, no, it's lovely here. It's I live on the western side, which is Perth, which is the world's most isolated city. So we're a bit cut off from everywhere, but it's lovely. It's lovely.
Very good. Very good. I have not been to Australia yet, but I want to go. So you never know when I might show up there.
What season is it for you?
It's summer it's summer getting into sort of autumn kind of thing.
Blows my mind.
Well,
yeah, it's cool.
Still blows my mind.
Planet is tilted, buddy. So when it spins, one half gets summer, the other half gets winter.
Oh, listen, Mikey, I'll blow your mind even more. I've never seen snow ever, not in real life.
You are not missing anything.
So people tell me it looks so pretty on like when you see it on the internet or whatever, and you're like, oh, that looks gorgeous. And people are having fun, and everyone says you're not missing anything. It's just
I mean, unless you ski,
enough, but
right? If you ski, then you're missing something, right?
Right. Well, I don't ski because we kind of. Well, that's true. Yeah.
Sucks in the mud,
in the sand. Just go in the outback and you go skiing. On the big dunes, just ski down them.
Anyways, Mark, I want to welcome you to the show. I think it's
Thank
great
you.
that you reached out to me to come on here. Now, you were never religious, so we don't really have much of a deconversion story, but talking a little bit ahead of time, you were mentioning some stuff that you used to believe then until you got older and logic and reason kicked in and you sort of reasoned yourself out of these beliefs. And I'm curious to know what these beliefs are. But before we get into that, I also want to say I've seen that you've also debated people about flat Earth and stuff. So I do want to talk about that a little bit as well.
Yep.
But first of all, let's get it. When you say, first of all, on the religion side, growing up non-religious, your folks, I'm assuming, were not religious as well.
Nope.
Did you have relatives at all that were religious?
Yes, definitely. I was taken to Sunday school by an aunt once, and I was thrown out of Sunday school, and that was sort of my experience. I remember my mother being particularly mad that sort of we were taken to Sunday school kind of thing.
Oh wow! Really?
But I think because she was sort of very religion shouldn't be pushed on kids kind of thing. So she sort of was like, how dare you not get my permission before taking them to Sunday school, and they didn't want to go and you still took them kind of thing. But I remember sort of the story that we got told was the Noah's Ark story, and I laughed, like it was such a bizarre thing. If you haven't been raised in that environment, it's such a weird thing to hear when you're young. This is sort of about I'd say about 10 to 11, maybe 12 or so, roughly around those years, and somebody tells you that they put all these animals on an ark, it sounds ridiculous. It really does. I sort of, because I laughed and just thought it was just the most hilarious thing, I kind of got kicked out of that, which my aunt was not happy. Like it reflected badly on her kind of thing. And also sort of I've been diagnosed much later in my life as being neurodivergent, so on the autism spectrum. So I wouldn't have known that that's a social faux pas to sort of laugh at that kind of thing in church. It just completely I just thought it was hilarious. But that was my one experience of sort of Sunday school, and I barely remember it. It had no effect on me whatsoever.
Good.
Yeah.
And I think I like your mom. I think she's right to say that you shouldn't be pushing stuff on children, especially because they're so young and impressionable, right? So I mean, luckily, growing up without the religion in your household, at least at that phase, anyways, or from your entry into the world and until then,
right.
You were probably already immune to the effects that it could possibly have on you. So.
Well, possibly. I mean, we were sort of like, she told us about different religions, but sort of from an outside view, so Buddhism and Christianity and all this kind of stuff, but it was more just hey, there's people that believe this kind of thing and here's what they believe, rather than, you have to believe this. And that indoctrination process of sort of when you're very young, when you're sort of 4 or 5 years old at this, this is what happened and these are the things that we have to believe, kind of thing. I think it is incredibly damaging. I think that a lot more parents should sort of say, hey, this is what we believe, and you should think about it for yourself, not you have to believe these things, or else you're going to burn in hell, kind of thing. To my mind, it's pretty damaging, to sort of threaten a child with eternal torment if they don't believe something. It's gruesome.
Yeah, it's what is it? It's infinite punishment for a finite crime. That's not justice, right? So,
and it's a kid, like they don't have a choice to not believe what you're telling them. Like, why would you lie? Your mom, like, of course I believe you. Like, you know what I mean? I'll listen to anything you say. Like.
Well, I think
fair. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You just believe
absolutely. And they did the Santa Claus one on me, and I believed that for a while until like it was obvious that it was false.
It's a little more harmless.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, sure. But Mikey, you've got a good point. The kids. I mean, I think that evolutionarily, kids are almost hardwired to believe their parents, because the kids that don't believe their parents usually wound up dead, kind of thing. If you didn't listen to your parents at that age, I mean, like when you're very young, the 4 or 5 year old, you have to trust in your parents. You have to, or else if you wander off by yourself, you're not going to survive in where we came from. Hi, Knock. So I think we're kind of hardwired to trust in our parents and what they say is the truth, and I think that religion takes advantage of that. It really does prey on that hardwired evolutionary response to trust in what your parents say, that they're giving you the best advice.
Also grief. It's easy to keep somebody roped into something when you promise them an extra life at the end of it all, and you get to just go do the ultimate everything forever. Like that's and you'll see all your loved ones again. So there's that. So how do I compete with that?
They've been doing that forever, right? The carrot and the stick. The carrot for believing you get the next extra life, as you said, beautiful way that you've stated, extra life. And the stick, if you don't, you're going to be punished eternally. It's an old trick and it works.
It's a Mark Reid fun fact. If Mark Reid were to travel into an alternate dimension in which there was another Mark Reid and they debated, they would both win.
Damn. create a singularity.
It'd be the Mark Reid paradox. We found it. I love debate. I do love debate. So I love pitting my ideas against others. I love patterns. I love unraveling them. I really enjoy debating with people and exchanging ideas.
Should have been here Thursday.
Oh boy.
I had to say it. You think I was gonna go the whole episode without bringing it up, everybody? Of course I am.
Oh, do tell. What happened? What? Share, Mikey, share. Come on.
I don't even know.
You don't even.
We had a fellow on who was recently out of the Jehovah's Witness, like almost like the week before he decided to leave it all. But he still had, I think he carried with him some of these wishy-washy supernaturalistic type beliefs. Like he thinks that, every beginning has an ending, or there has to be an ending before a beginning, before a start, or some shit like that. I'm like, well, what do you mean? You're born? And he goes, yes, but what ended was you not being born. I'm like, What is that? That's just a deepity. What does that even sound like? What does that mean?
Right.
So, and he thinks that the universe has awareness. Like, it's like, no, man, no. So, some bizarre stuff, definitely.
And sure.
If he got combative.
Sure.
A little bit.
Dear.
Well, we were kind of driving at him a little too, because I mean, I was challenging his stuff. But there's so many things like retaliation points. There's so many retaliation points going through my head that I couldn't focus enough to really bring them all out one at a time, kind of thing. Sort of mishmash of stuff going through my head. Like, so I started pulling up articles that I know of that help sort of alleviate people of these kinds of ideas, but none of them really worked on them. Because
I know that.
You know, I'm like,
you've got a million responses because something is so zany, and you cannot pluck a single one because there's so many of them. You know, it's like, that is so weird. I can't even think of a response because
it's not even wrong. It's not even a thing.
And he thinks he says, and he knew this for a fact.
He only believes things that are true.
Yeah, he only believes things that are true, and the universe is infinite. And I'm like, well. Or the cosmos, as he put it, because a lot of cosmologists refer to everything being the cosmos rather than just our universe, right? So I said, well, our universe is not infinite. We know it has a beginning and an end.
So was he getting sort of frustrated? Well, do we know that the universe had a beginning or an end? That isn't strictly true. I think I was having this conversation about Sean Carroll talking to Aaron Ra, and sort of saying that the universe, a lot of physicists are moving towards it is actually eternal. Like in the beginning of the Big Bang, 1 second, because you're talking about time, that 1 second could stretch out to an eternity in the singularity kind of thing.
I've heard him say that.
It could be. I don't know enough about physics to make any kind of statement on that, and I don't think it's consensus anyway, but I could be wrong. But I have no idea where the universe came from, and I'm okay with that. You know, it's okay. It's just why people think they know where the universe came from is beyond me. It's sort of like there's no way you could possibly know.
That's what I said.
Yep. Right.
Yeah. But was he getting frustrated, or was the frustration on both sides?
He was
right. So. I mean, I've got a very, very sort of that the whole idea of that anger coming up and the frustration coming up. I used to have like really bad anger problems when I was younger, kind of thing. You know, being on the autism spectrum, I did feel a lot of that anger and had to do a lot of work on that. Usually, what I found is that all anger and frustration, it comes from one of two things, either fear or pain. One of those two things is usually the trigger. So the way I've managed to help with it a lot is to, when I get frustrated, I ask myself what I'm afraid of, not what I'm angry about. It's that old evolutionary fight or flight thing coming up, right? You either fight or you run away, kind of thing. You don't want to handle it anymore. So anger is just the fight mechanism of that fear reaction. And that doesn't mean you're afraid of the person or, what they're saying or whatever, but it's triggering something that, like, you may be afraid that people will believe this crazy stuff and do stupid shit, basically. Or, what's your view of swearing on this channel? Is that okay? Is that, I mean, I am Australian. You really should have expected it, me coming on. But,
cursing.
As far as I fucking know, it's fine.
All right. Well, I generally don't. But occasionally I do like to make an emphasis with a curse. And I want to be. I want to play by people's rules when I go into their things, even with Christian channels and stuff. I like to, allow them to set the rules, and if I don't like it, I don't go there. And a lot of them have problems with cursing and stuff, so I generally don't, because that's how they want to engage. I think that's sort of giving people respect and listening to them. I think that we don't listen to each other enough. We don't sort of, because when stuff's brought up and you feel like, oh, that is, just such a ridiculous argument. Number one, that's good for you in a debate, right? You're debating and someone brings up something completely zany, like this whole beginning and end thing. And the inclination is to get frustrated and like, what is this crazy stuff, But I've found a change in paradigm recently where I go, well, that's actually good for me in a debate, because I get to examine that and then, put it under the microscope. And I've been getting a lot of pushback lately, especially from a few different people. Sort of when you start to put their beliefs under the microscope, they get really frustrated and sort of lash out kind of thing. And that's good too. In a debate, that's good as well, because, when you're just simply examining something and they're getting frustrated, it's obvious that they don't like you examining their stuff. That's actually good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of it is cognitive dissonance. Like you can always, I can tell a lot when that cognitive dissonance is happening. Like somebody believes God is good, but you sort of pointing out these really horrible things that they're doing and they're trying to argue it's good. And then they'll get frustrated. It's that grinding of gears within their head that's like, well, I believe this one thing and I believe this one thing. And they both clash with one another. God is good and drowned the world. It's a clash. Like they can't reconcile those two ideas.
It was a good drowning.
I've heard all kinds of stuff. Like God teleported all of the babies, including the ones out of the womb before he did it. So that, this was, I can't remember.
I've got a lock on him, Captain. Hold on.
Well, I think it was in response to who was it? Who did the baby thing? Scala Fiction sort of said, "Hey, God drowns babies." That's one of his sort of major points, which is, apparently, according to an internal critique of their religion, that's apparently true. Because obviously there were babies around at the time. Obviously there were pregnant women around at the time. So and I remember somebody saying, "Well, no, actually, God sort of." Transported them to heaven first, then drowned everybody. It was such a wacky argument. It's crazy, but funny. You got to laugh at that.
Well, yeah, but and they can't wrap the idea around their heads that you can't be all loving and do that.
Right, right.
Totally.
And that's where the cognitive dissonance tries to find an escape, and it's how you get these wacky arguments. It's where you get these truly and I really love them. The truly bewildering apologetics coming up. So I remember being in a debate with Hovind, and everything was vegetarian kind of thing. It's because you can't get meat to last the amount of time that's required on the ark. So what's the reason? Well, the lions and everything were vegetarian. And I'm like, well, what about the eagles and raptors, the birds of prey that only eat meat? And he's like, oh no, they ate hay. And I thought that was hilarious, just the image of an eagle with the curved
bale of hay
chowing down on a bale of hay. It was just it was a beautiful image that I absolutely loved. And these excuses, they kind of bring up 5 other questions. It's like you have a dam breaking and, you put a finger in the hole and 5 others open up elsewhere. And I love doing that, because, Yep. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I feel like apologetics kind of is doing at times. It's plugging these holes and watching as they form, other holes just spring open, and they're desperately trying to plug all of them. And it becomes almost comical after a while. The explanations they're giving kind of thing become hilarious after a while. And I love those. I absolutely love them. I love it in a debate when you can sort of get somebody to a point of saying the most ridiculous stuff in order to sort of make apologetics for what they believe.
Oh, and they come up with some of the craziest things. Oh, wait a second here.
Sure. Well, you have to. That's the thing. Like if you're thinking in a logical and reasonable manner and you have a series of things happening, you have to insert something that either is beyond physics or out of this world to be able to explain some of this stuff. It's the only way to do it.
Well, this is what they like to use when they Mikey, get rid of the background for us.
Mm-hmm.
So I can share a screen for a quick sec.
Yep.
All right. This is what they like to use.
Yep. Exactly right. Yeah.
It can be found at any local hardware store. So, so there you go. That's what
also,
they like to use.
Also kept by good preachers everywhere. God putty.
Yeah. Yeah.
Keep it in stock.
Absolutely. So let's talk about some of the things that you used to believe that you no longer believe. Let's get into some of that, because they're really, deconversion can be from any type of bad belief system.
Yeah. Absolutely. I totally agree. So my mother was very open with religion, sort of, we're not going to force religion on you, but what she followed was what I would call light to medium woo. So, aromatherapy and sort of natural oils.
With aromatherapy, there's some legitimacy to it.
Well, not the way that they present it in the
no, of course not.
Is it naturopathy? I can't remember the name of it, but it's the one where you
that's
you sort of distill oils down, and you get the concentrated oils, distill them down, and then that has a better effect. Just that complete bullshit, basically.
I think it was it Dawkins? I think, or I can't remember who it was. Not that he's my favorite person right now, but
no, it was James Randi
that took a drop. He said, "Do you think this is a naturopathy that works?" You take a drop in your sink. Is that enough to dilute it? No, hang on. You take a drop, put it in your bathtub. Well, no, we need more. So you go to the ocean, and he takes a drop of this thing and he puts it in the ocean. He goes, "That's about right." He goes, because the percentage of the original medicine is less than like 0.00000001% or some shit like that. So he says that basically it's no longer medication.
Well, the best one was James Randi, who famously debunked a lot of these sort of spiritualists and things like that. And he had this oil, this aromatherapy thing that was supposed to be a sedative, like it would put you to sleep, and you're supposed to put a drop in water. And he just drunk the whole thing and just went, I should be passed out by now.
Right.
It does nothing. It does literally homeopathy. Thank you, Grey Wolf. That's exactly right. Homeopathy.
Naturopathy.
Homeopathy.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike.
So she was into that. She was into astrology.
Oh boy.
And sort of had a bit of a spiritual kind of, big. Hey, Meth Pig. Sort of had spiritual overtones and stuff. So I remember growing up, I sort of believed in sort of wooish kind of stuff, that all humans were connected by a spiritual kind of.
Oh yeah.
So new age-ish kind of, crystals and the oils and that kind of stuff. So growing up, about when I was about 14 or 15, my mother, obviously she had a profound influence on my life. She basically got tired a lot, and she had no energy whatsoever, like just kept running out of energy, even though she was a very energetic person. And just, towards later in her life, past her 40s, she just, could not muster the energy to get out of bed sometimes. She sort of, it wasn't psychological. She was actually a trained psychologist, so it wasn't psychological. But she did all kinds of things, all kind of these woo and homeopathy. And I remember she did Chinese medicine trying to solve the problem. So she was mixing it, and I'll never forget this. It was like a concoction made of like bark and no joke, actual scorpions, crushed up scorpions kind of thing, right? Just mixed in this drink, because she was tired all the time. And the Chinese medicine person had said, if you drink this, it will give you energy, kind of thing, so this will balance your chi or whatever it was, your in a spirit kind of thing, and told her this stuff. So she was, I'll never forget that drink. I mean, it was the most vile looking and vile tasting, apparently, because I never tasted it. it was terrible. And so she's chugging down this stuff and it's not working, kind of thing. Eventually, a friend of hers in Mensa convinced her to go and see an actual specialist in this kind of thing, like, you know, like an actual proper doctor. And so she went. She had celiac disease, which is an allergic to gluten, right? So that's when my eyes first opened to, hey, hang on a second. This is like that Chinese medicine stuff was absolute bullshit. Bollocks. It was total bollocks. There was no element of truth. And she sort of cut out gluten from her diet and like felt amazing.
But real quick here, though, one thing I want to say about the Chinese medicine, and yes, we, you know, modern days we realize that it's complete nonsense. But what's going on behind the scenes of Chinese medicine, they're still killing a lot of animals, right? That like for their, you know, their paws or their livers or their spleens or whatever the fuck they need,
like
for a specific recipe,
right?
And which is horrifying, basically. I mean, as a meat eater, I don't really have so much of a right to say something like that because I eat meat and but still, it's still horrifying.
We're not running around eating unicorn steaks, though.
No.
Yeah, right. And I think that you hit the nail on the head there, Mikey. It's endangered animals that sort of,
that's
you know, we wouldn't just
that's the
eat
part.
them.
There's only a few left, and they're just like, gotta really get this up later tonight. So
let's get that rhinoceros horn. It'll fix everybody, sure. You know,
how the hell do you get that from a tiger without being mauled to death?
You ask.
That is actually my wife.
Very nicely.
In the chat. That's my wife in the chat being particularly cheeky, which I love her for. So, So it's no, I agree. And on the vegan thing, I mean, I'm firmly in humanism, which sort of I prioritize humans. So I do like animals. My priority isn't animals, it is humans. So that's the way that I look at it. If I can stop unnecessary suffering, sure. If animals are dying to provide sustenance for humans, I think I'm okay with that. But animals dying just, you know, being shot for sport or being used in things that don't work. That's my issue. That there's even if there's a benefit to humans from farming animals, there's no benefit to humans for making Chinese medicine at all. You know, there's no benefit at all. It is a waste of resources and you know, suffering for no reason whatsoever.
And at some point, you got to give up the old. Jesus.
You're like Chuck Norris, apparently.
Apparently so, yeah.
But there has to reach a point where you're like,
"Oh, Ollie,
let me just take some aspirin." Like, why do you need the rhino horn when aspirin's right there? Like, what do you like? Why does it need to be from this weird creature? Or like when people have like that coffee that passes through the coati, like you don't need to do that. I think you want to do that. Like you want to eat tiger claws or semen, or like you want to do those things, and then you're trying to like disguise it as if, oh, this is the only way I can get better.
It's mysticism. Mysticism's
elephants, don't you? Like that's what this is.
Yeah, well, mysticism's been around forever, and I mean the Chinese example is particularly fascinating because the Chinese government are sort of trying to get the traditional sort of kung fu styles back in, and I find this fascinating because it sort of ties in these kung fu masters that practice bullshit-ido, right? They practice like stuff that doesn't work, and sort of they come up against a real MMA fighter or something, and they just get handed their ass,
kicked in the face. Every time.
And I remember seeing a lot of stuff on these masters that have, and it's so fascinating to me because they brainwash their students and themselves to think that this, you know, touch of death that they're doing actually works. And you'll see them sort of, you know, go, at one of their students, they'll just fall down. And then the cameraman gets up, they do the same thing, and nothing happens, because he doesn't believe that it works. But the students do. And that self-delusion to the point where you get not physically knocked out because you believe that him doing that will knock you out. It reminded me so much of Benny Hinn.
Yes, I was just thinking exactly that.
The jacket, fluttering the jacket, and all of his followers just fall down. And it's uncannily similar to these fake martial artists who, rah, and then their students fall over kind of thing. The power of self-deception is incredibly strong. And it's just, I find it fascinating that people will get to that point, that they will literally, they believe so hard that they will do this stuff. It's crazy. But yeah, that's the kind of light I was into. So I kind of believed in sort of spirits and ghosts and the connectedness of humans, and
me too.
Astrology kind of thing, and
me too.
The all this kind of wooish stuff, all this kind of spiritual new age crystals and stuff, and then I think it was that event which sort of made me go, hey, I need to find out what actually works and what doesn't, what is true. Because if I believe that this Chinese medicine was going to fix somebody, it doesn't, and then it just turns out to be a perfectly explainable natural phenomenon that doctors can identify. And while we can't cure it, a change in lifestyle can immediately fix it, because we know what the cause is. We know what the cause is. There's nothing mystical about that, about celiac disease. It's just that the cilia in your stomach, which absorbs nutrients, is allergic to gluten. So it basically lays down and doesn't absorb nutrients when gluten comes through. That's it. It's perfectly explainable. And so, that's when I started on my journey, watched Atheist Experience, watched all that stuff, got an understanding of rationality and reason and logic. And it appealed to me. It really did appeal to me.
Tons of mice here. Thanks, tons of mice. Mark Reid doesn't believe in ghosts, but ghosts exercise him
from each other.
They're making me into a modern day Chuck Norris kind of thing. I remember if anyone's a gamer, Baron's chat from World of Warcraft, which was such a weird place to be. There was this area in World of Warcraft where just people would make Chuck Norris jokes constantly, like 24 hours a day, Chuck Norris jokes for no apparent reason whatsoever. Just
yo, UTT, or what is it? The MMO players, y'all are a different kind of weird. I'm a first person weirdo. Like, I'm an FPS weirdo. So we have our teabagging weird stuff we do. You guys had a whole corner of town dedicated to Chuck Norris jokes.
Well, it was more a corner of the continent kind of thing.
So big ass area.
Yeah, it's an entire area. But yeah, I haven't played an MMO for ages. Sort of, I've done my time in them. If anyone's a gamer here, I'm an avid gamer. So yeah, I've done my time in them. I'm more, I like building these days. I like city builders and building things. Relaxes me. So
I wish I could get into that. I wish I could.
Big shout out to Bree from Hive Science.
Atheist. Amazing. She's so fucking smart. And Bree and I are in the same chat. I just sit back and go because I feel like an idiot. But I do want to say something real quick because Bree is here. Not recently, it was in the summertime. I got myself a jumping spider. So I have a Phidippus Regis, regal jumper, and he's a fucking funny little guy, man. I recently, now that he's used to me, I've been bringing him out of the cage, like out of his enclosure. And he would crawl on my hand and I'd bring him up close, and he's developed this habit today of jumping onto my nose. So he just automatically jumps onto my nose every time.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I thought it was kind of cute. So I'm going to try and get some footage of that next time. But
I like spiders. I really like spiders.
Love them.
Yeah. I think, and people talk about the spiders. We get huntsmen over here, and if you've never seen a huntsman, they can grow to like dinner plate sized spiders, right?
And their legs,
the
anyways,
thing is,
for sure.
Yeah, with their legs, of course, yeah. But they're really very placid. They don't. They actually keep other more dangerous spiders out of your house, kind of thing. They're actually really cool. You know, I do like the huntsman. And sort of it's only the appearance and, you know, a stigma associated with them. They're just like, oh, it's a big spider. Yeah, it's a big spider. It's actually good for you. It's the small spiders. Well, it's the small spiders with the venom that you've got to watch out for, not the big ones. Big ones, fine. Yeah. They're cool.
Yeah, most spiders are pretty harmless to humans. So
there is a question I do want to ask you, though, Neil. Why is it 604? Why is it 604?
The area code where I live.
Oh, okay. Is that an area code? Okay, cool.
Yeah, the area code for Vancouver.
Because I was wondering, because like you know, my background is kind of communications and networking. So basically, network engineering kind of stuff, like maintaining and building networks of systems, distributed networks. It's often called. But
then you do have a Twitter.
No. Why? I don't.
Because there's another Mark Reid that's also an engineer.
Look. When I worked for an internet company for many years, and I'll get into that. That's an entirely another story. But the largest internet company in Australia, there were 4 Mark Reids with the exact same spelling in the same company, right? It is such a common name. It's an incredibly common name.
Go get your pads or boxing gloves, whatever you need. You guys have to settle this. In the cage, there has to be an all-out battle for supremacy, and who will be the dominant Mark Reid? There's two. You can't have them all.
Mark Reid wars.
Yeah, you gotta have a Highlander. There can be only one. There can be only one.
I like
it. HR once sent me this whole this email, and it was about an incident at not even my state, because it's an Australia-wide thing. It was in a different state. I started reading it. I'm reading this incident report, and I'm like, this is not meant for me. This is definitely not meant for me. And I mean, I had to read the whole thing. It was just so fascinating. But like this incident.
What did Mark do?
What did this other Mark do? What did my doppelganger do? But no, it was for somebody who worked in sort of incidents and sort of legal stuff. So I had to send it back saying, hey, this is for you, not me. So what I did was I worked tech support. So sort of, you know, fixing people's have you turned it off and on again? Yeah, that's me. That was what I did for a large segment of my life. So not only that, but I also did complaints and things like that. So the more escalated positions. So if you can handle complaints at Australia's biggest internet company, there is not a phone call or conversation on this planet you cannot handle. Like imagine doing complaints for what's a big into AT&T, for instance.
Yeah,
right. You're doing Right. So imagine doing complaints for that kind of thing, you know, like, and I was once in a team that basically called outbound to the biggest complaints that we had. So trying to fix the unfixable kind of thing. For some reason, the skills that I learnt on that job have translated remarkably well to debate, you know, just sort of the whole idea of how to deal with people, how to use tone, how to sort of reinforce a point, allow people to speak, how to listen, note taking. All of these things, for some strange reason, have transferred remarkably well to debating people. So people are like, how do you stay so calm? It's like, I've been trained to stay calm. It's not a oh, well, I've got this magical power. It's you receive training and then you put it into practice, and you know that practice eventually leads to being able to have somebody, you know, attack you and you remain calm. I mean, I'm as human as the next person. I get mad, I get frustrated and stuff, but at least I've had training to deal. I'm sorry.
You're not as human as the next human, according to the chat. Apparently, you have these
mystical,
wonderful powers and stuff, and you're like the atheist Chuck Norris or something.
Thanks, guys. I think you're building me up a little bit too much, but thank you.
4 marks enter, 1 mark.
1 mark leaves.
It's the Mark Kumite.
It's the Reid dome.
Yeah.
That was in the before times.
Before times, yeah.
Back when I saw people face to face.
So going back to when you were into sort of the buoy stuff, what was some of the triggers that led you to finding your way free from all that stuff?
Well, there was that main one. That was probably the main one. Other stuff was running into other people that I would have discussions with over why what I was thinking was irrational, and sort of talking with them and sort of hearing there's no reason to believe this stuff actually works. Like when you actually examine it.
Yeah.
And as I said, like I really like unraveling systems, so it kind of appeals to me to use sort of protocols and methods in order to solve stuff. So going into sort of a technical support sphere, you're also using sort of a scientific method. Troubleshooting is essentially a scientific method. You basically postulate that something's wrong, like, it's the modem or it's this, and then you try and falsify it. You basically swap it out, or you do something else to show that that is either the thing or not the thing. That's essentially all it is. It's an observation. You make a hypothesis, you test it, then you write a report about it. That's essentially it. So sort of learning these methods in which to figure out what is actually the case and what isn't the case, I think that helped with my mindset. But also, other people were critical. I wouldn't have found my way out of it without talking to others and listening to their beliefs and going, well, does that make sense or does that not make sense? Is that rational or is that not rational? I think other people are critical in anybody's journey out of a false belief. Because if your beliefs are never challenged, you'll never critically examine them if they're never challenged. You'll just keep on slugging on exactly as you've been doing.
Yeah. I mean, I was into a lot of bizarre stuff myself. I considered myself to be a witch at one point, and the whole crystal healing, and all that stuff. I bought into it too for a while, and eventually, after trying some things and they just didn't work, I was like, maybe this isn't so true.
Well, I thought I could sense things and sense people's emotions and sense ghosts were in the area, kind of thing, and sense these things. Looking back, I thought, because at the time I thought, well, I'm right about these things sometimes, or what I thought was a lot of the time. But looking back, I'm like, well, it was just probably sometimes. And I'm using confirmation bias to say, hey, I was right about that. But I never realized the times I was wrong. That's what confirmation bias is. I think it's called the Texas sharpshooter fallacy. It's counting all the hits and ignoring all of the misses. And then sort of, I look back and I'm like, no, it was just that using intuition. I mean, intuition is a thing. We sort of make these sort of hasty judgments based upon our subconscious reacting to stimuli that comes in. That's, and we just do that. We go, oh, I've got a gut feeling. Yeah, sure, intuition's a thing. Doesn't mean it's mystical or magical, or it can be wrong a lot of the time.
It's actually wrong most of the time. That's according to studies.
Well,
it's only correct about 14% of the time at best.
Well, yeah, I really believe that well, even if it's that low, I didn't know it was that low, but it's definitely unreliable. You cannot rely on it being true or correct. a majority of the time. Therefore, it is unreliable. And taking rationality and sitting down and thinking about things, it gets you correct way more often than intuition. It's not even close.
The highest scoring group, by the way, in those studies were mothers. So maybe that says something. Mom's intuitions, right? They were the highest scoring in the groups that they studied.
Well, I mean, sure, that mums have greater intuition. That's fine. It's still not reliable. It's still not
true. No, but I was just sort of pointing that out.
Yeah. No, it's fine. Like a lot of these things, they are explainable and not through any kind of mysticism or magical stuff. They're just maybe mothers are more keyed into their environment and their surroundings just due to evolution than others.
That's pretty much what they said. It was an evolutionary thing where they had this extra, it's almost like it felt like an extra sense. Although even sometimes those intuitions could misfire as well, right? Oh my God, where's my kid? Oh my God. Oh, she's probably lighting something on fire, and then the kid just happened to be in the bathroom for an extra amount of time.
You're right.
So so sometimes it can backfire, but having it is more useful than not having it. Like it's helped save kids from things too, right? So better for them to have this sort of extra little sense than not have it for security reasons and well, let's face it, evolutionary reasons. Because if the kids die off, then there's no next lineage, right? So
because it's the ones that went, oh, something's happening to my kid, that survived, and the ones that went, hey, everything's doesn't come up at all, they probably didn't survive, because the world was a lot more dangerous when we were in the African savannah, and the same is true of fear. And it's these sort of senses that we have.
Hey, fish drown all the time, okay?
Yeah, just take them out of the water. Yep, they're building you up out there, buddy.
I know, I'm a little worried, but look, I mean, I stand by my record. I've won. I got the privilege to relaunch Tang. If you're aware of them, they do an ultimate debate championship. I was on the opening debate for that against James W., good friend of mine.
I remember that.
Fantastic debate.
Tang.
The privilege of relaunching them, and so I've won. I boast about it. I've won more debates on their ultimate debate challenge than all of the other people put together. Sure, there's only been one debate, but that's technically true.
Facts are facts.
Technically, yeah.
Technically, you've won 100%.
Right, I have 100% win record on Ultimate Debate Championship.
Undefeated.
Yeah, fantastic. And I do have 100% record on Snake Was Right channel as well, which I'm very proud of. I did a couple of debates on there.
Snake Was Right. That sounds familiar. Why have I heard that name?
That's Taylor. He has done a lot of debates against Hovend and things in the past.
Hovend.
I cannot be happier that Hovend's off YouTube for whatever 10 million
Nobody needs
reasons
that
I can
fucking
think
clown on here.
He like, I can think of so many reasons why you would kick him off YouTube. It's sort of pick a reason kind of thing. It's ridiculous that he managed to get away with so much. Look, you keep spreading this rumor. It's not going to work. Yeah, I'm the Chuck Norris of atheism now. Thank you.
Yeah, first commandment there, Bree says, first commandment, cancel all other gods, cancel anyone who worships other gods.
Yeah.
Come on, Bree, there are no other gods. Right.
Well, it's weird that's the first one. That's the most important thing in their list of commandments, right? Is don't worship another god.
Right.
You'd think that if you're making a moral system, you would sort of say, hey, don't harm anybody or don't kill anybody. Even the murder one, that's fine. It's just, why isn't it higher? Surely if you're making a moral system. And I mean, I've always pointed this out. If I was a god writing a holy book, I would put in certain things into that holy book, like for instance, the use of soap and a recipe for soap. For instance, soap saved more lives over the course of human
knowledge
history
of microscopic critters that can harm you.
Right, penicillin. Why don't you include how penicillin works and its importance to your people? Because that is what is going to save lives and make your lives better. But no, instead it's, the priest should wear this robe or whatever. It's just
surgeons should wash their hands.
Don't forget funny hats. They all have to wear funny hats sometimes.
Right. In between the funny hats. That's the important thing in this book is
don't own another human being as property or, sexually abuse people. It's wear funny hats and fancy robes.
Finest.
Drive cars that are bulletproof.
If a woman has her period, chuck her out of the camp. For some reason, okay, if I was a god, I'd probably go about things differently than that particular one.
I definitely would.
Yeah. And
especially if I'm all-knowing.
Right. Exactly. So, if you, and people sort of say, oh, well, you're engaged in presentism. And it's like, well, yeah, but presentism assumes moral relativity. It assumes that morals change over time, and we don't judge those people. They were the product of their time. Like with the slavery thing, we don't say, hey, they were bad because they engaged in slavery, but a god should have known that slavery is harmful, not only to the slaves but the people owning the slaves. He should have known. But they sort of say, hey, presentism, it's like, well, that assumes moral relativity. If things were different back then we understand that there was a horrible action, but they were ignorant of that. They didn't know that. So
that's ridiculous. Yeah. And mixed fabrics. Yeah. You don't want to mix fabrics. Like, I don't know why, but apparently that's bad.
But I just want to give so much love to everybody joining me in the chat. It's awesome to see you all. There's so many people in there just come out for me. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. And I'm trying to line up more debates. I think it's hard to find decent theists to debate. I'm not trying to throw shade. I'm not trying to be sort of mocking or anything, but you sort of get people like Praise wanting to debate and
Praise is
these
all right.
people.
He's goofy, but he's all right.
Yeah.
At least he's not a dick in my chats. He comes in and he says a couple of weirdish things, and we kind of laugh with him sort of about it. And he's not completely opposed to. He actually said he's kind of interested in hearing the deconversion stories, but in his mind, it strengthens his faith. And I'm like, I don't know how, but sure.
Yeah. So I don't get me wrong. I got nothing against him. I just don't think his arguments are very strong. I wouldn't mind going up against someone. I think if I had a choice of who to debate, I think I'd love to debate David Wood. I think that he's sort of story. Yeah, his story about how he, used to, or he still does, presumably, have psychopathy, and sort of his journey out of that, and how God got him out of that. I would hope, I would like to debate him on how God could cure, or I wonder if he's still taking medication, for instance. Like, is that a thing that he's doing? Because if he is, then it may not be God that's cured him. It may be the medication. Not sure, but I find it fascinating.
That's no good.
Yeah,
so jungle chap, but you can't be cool with that, buddy.
Yeah, so he's sort of doing apologetics for Hovind. I have this segment that I do, and I go into praises a lot because I get the best reactions. It's called Reid's Royal Room Rumble. I basically will go into a room with 6, 7, 8 theists and just present a case as calmly and nicely as I can, which makes a lot of Christians really mad, and that's hilarious. Because I'm usually acting more respectful than they are, and that I find just hilarious when they're taking a moral high ground after calling you names, you know, for an hour, is just hilarious to me.
I forgot that I was mean earlier, and that makes me even more mad.
But we love you.
Yeah. You got one of them auto pivoting cameras, don't you?
No, it's actually a program. It's NVIDIA. It's a program that I was desperate because my keyboard is like aggressively loud. I mean, like it's a gamer mechanical keyboard, right? Mikey will know where I'm coming from. And it is the loudest thing ever. So I found this NVIDIA plugin, which basically...
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, baby.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, baby.
Mine's a typewriter as well. So it's like typewriter keys. So it is... My bad.
Mikey, hold that up again. No joke. I have a semi right now. Come on. Oh, that is beautiful.
and then it stays lit up on the keys that I hit
Gamer
for like an extra second. So like when I'm typing, like it's still got like a silhouette of the word I did. It's very cool.
I love those keyboards. I'm using a Razer and a Starty. I'll just get them up here.
Oh yeah, you're doing some gaming with that bad boy.
Yeah, well, I mean, it plugs into games like when I'm playing Factorio, for instance, when it wants you to do research, the T key does it. It lights up just the T key on the keyboard. Like it's just those small things that I'm like, wow, they've just gone the extra mile. Yeah, little touches. But anyway, it's really loud. But this NVIDIA plugin, if you do have an NVIDIA card, highly recommend it. I'll find out.
I have NVIDIA in this thing, but I think Alienware uses NVIDIA.
What's it called?
NVIDIA Broadcast. So basically, it will use an AI algorithm, so machine learning, to eliminate the keyboard sounds, right? And I can show you an example if you want of the two. But yeah, it just cancels it out, and so you don't hear the keyboard at all. It also will zoom the camera in, but then it will readjust the camera wherever your head is, kind of thing. So if I go over here, it will just move the camera for me. It's just programmed. Yeah, and it's blurring the background as well, so it looks a slight bit more professional. It's actually if you do have an NVIDIA card, I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. I think
couldn't hear you over the sound of me downloading it already.
Oh, okay. Cool. No, it's really good. Like, hang on, I'll show you the thing. This is me typing. Did you hear that?
I heard maybe a little bit of a click, and that was it. Most of it's out. It's done.
Okay, this is me typing without it.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
How do we know he's sweet? Did somebody lick him? Like
What I do on my weekends is my business.
What are you? Nice, Mike. Nice. Played the fifth.
Right. I confessing the shit.
Mark, we've gone the hour here, my friend.
Oh, okay. That time flies. That was awesome.
I know.
I really enjoyed it.
Well, we do an after party as well. You're not obligated to join us for that, but I always recommend that you pop in for a little bit, anyways, to get to know some of the other folks in the community, which is why I do them. Sure. But I'm aware that you know many people in the community already, but we have a little niche group of folks that pop in here all the time, and I know there's people in the chat that want to virtually meet you and say hello and thank you for the stuff that you do, because you do some amazing debate stuff that at least that I've seen. And I'll be honest, man, when you emailed me, I was like, holy shit, he wants to come on the show. I guess I am making some waves in the atheist community, because I think it's really cool that you decided you want to come on, because even though you don't really have a deconversion story, you did have a little bit of influences in your life, and you believed in some other really weird shit. So we had something to talk.
Everybody does. I think everybody has had false beliefs in their life. They
especially Ox.
Especially Ox, yeah. Ox thinks certain things about cowbells I won't repeat in good company. That's for you, Ox. That one's for you, mate. But yeah, I think everybody's had those beliefs. They've gone, oh, I believe this, and I mean that's really the root of epistemology, right? Why do we believe things we believe? Do we have a good reason for it, or are we just wandering down a path of basing our beliefs on something that isn't true, a lack of foundation. I think that's fascinating.
Don't tell that to my drummer, Ox, because he already uses it enough.
No.
Anyway.
Yeah,
I very much appreciate you joining Mikey and me today. It's been fantastic having you on, man, and listening to all this stuff. It's really cool. Anyway, all you guys out there in the chat, thank you so much for showing up for today and hanging out with us. I hope you guys enjoyed today's show. Thanks to my amazing patrons and our members. We have 7 members total so far. If you want to become a member, you can hit that little join button down there below. All one of Mark's links are down in the description box below for his YouTube channel. I recommend you follow him over there on YouTube and watch out for him on other channels because he loves to jump into other shows and debate believers and flat earthers and stuff like that. So definitely go and check out his work as well because it's good, and we need more people like Mark out there fighting the good fight, so they speak.
Flat Earth stuff. We didn't even get to the flat Earth.
I know.
So, yeah,
that's
all right. I'll go into the after show. We can talk.
We'll bring up some of the flat Earth shit for sure.
Yeah.
Anyways, guys, thanks everyone. Remember that all the music for the show is in the description box below. It's my SoundCloud, and Mikey SoundCloud is also down there. And look forward to some new stylings of the music for the show, which will be coming up in the future. My good friend Mikey here will be working on that, and we're going to settle on some cool ass intro and outro music for both shows, and maybe some new video footage. You never know. We'll figure something out. Also, we gotta Mikey. We gotta redo the banner for the channel too. It's old, and we need you and me both. In it now, so we got to come up with something like that. But anyways, that's stuff we could talk about off of here. It's not $50 to join Oxfy, son of a. Anywho, if you want to be in the after party, let Mike or myself know. We'll get you guys a link, and also there is a link if you just want to watch in the description box below as well. And like I always say, at the end of the interviews, like the late great Christopher Hitchens once said, it's called faith because it's not knowledge. And we'll see you guys next time.
$50 for you, Ox. Only for you though.
Yeah.